So, I'm going to read you a book that is similar to the book we read about bears, but it's asking something really interesting and it's going deeper into something we learned about in the book about black bears. This book is called Tell Me Why Bears Hibernate. So remember, hibernate means to go away in a den for months at a time to get away from the winter. And bears do that. And so this book is going to explain why they do that. And I'm really excited to read this book. I hope you are too. Where are the bears? Sean and his family were visiting a state park. Spring had not yet arrived. So if spring hasn't arrived, what season is it? How can you tell that? So the weather was still very cool. It's winter. At the park, a ranger talked about the animals living there. Chipmunks would not be out yet. Some birds were still down south where it was warmer. And bears were hibernating. We know that. They would be hidden for 2 more months. Wow. Let's see what it says down at the bottom. Many bears hibernate through the cold winter months. So we always have to remember that in books, especially nonfictions, they'll have like little things at the bottom or on the side. Remember in the last book we read, they had a text box. So this is just similar to that. Sean thought of the TV show he'd seen about bears. Some caught fish, some sat and ate berries. He did not know that bears stayed hidden for months. So how is this book similar to the Black Bear book? What have we learned in the Black Bear book that's true in this book too? It's talking about what bears eat. And this seems like the same information that we got in the Black Bear book, but it's different from our panda book. Why are they hibernating? Sean asked. The ranger turned to look at Sean. There is not enough food for bears right now, she explained. But soon, food will be everywhere. Then they will leave their dens. So remember, they hide into the den and stay there until winter is over. Ask questions. Talk to your family members. See if anyone knows why bears hibernate. I want you to go ask your family, why do bears hibernate, and see what they say. It says bears feed on spring plants. So that must be after they come out of hibernation, they go and eat some plants. Look at him, he's a mouthful of plants. Lots and lots of food. Look, what else? What else does she have? She's got some babies. Many bears live in forests, the ranger said. Pandas live in bamboo forests. We learned that in our panda book. Connection. They munch on bamboo leaves and stems. We also know that. Brown bears also live in forests. They eat plants, berries, and insects. So we know about black bears. We haven't learned about brown bears yet, but they seem similar to black bears. Some bears live in warm, swampy areas, she said, or she continued. Remember, we learned about that in our last book. Others live where it is very cold. Bears live on all sorts of places, but wherever they live, there must be plenty of food. So bears can live in a lot of different places. So where they live might change, but what they need doesn't change. What do they need no matter where they are? Food, right? Bears are found all over the world. How many little babies can you count in that picture? The ranger went on. Sometimes bears eat other animals, but they also eat plants. They eat roots, fruits, berries, and nuts. Sean began thinking, bears are huge animals. They must need lots of food. Then he looked around. It was still winter. The trees had no leaves. The grass looked dead. There were no berries anywhere. There was nothing for bears to eat. So if there's nothing for the bears to eat because it's winter time, it makes sense that they sleep until they're able to find food. It says bears find a lot of food to eat in warmer months. Oh, that connects with what I was thinking. Bedtime. The ranger interrupted Sean's thoughts. She began to explain where all the bears were. During the summer and fall, the bears ate and ate. They gained a lot of weight. The fat built up in their bodies. Their fur also grew thicker. as it got colder, they continue reading. We were talking about how they eat and eat in the summer and fall, and they get fat and their fur gets thicker. And as it got colder, they couldn't find enough food. So then their body just tells them that it's time to hibernate. Bears gain weight before hibernating. In time, every bear withdrew into a den. The den is a hollowed out place. It might be in a cave or on a hillside. It might be under a rock ledge. The den is not much larger than the bear. It is a tight space with little room. The bear doesn't mind, though. He puts his furry back to the den's opening. He curls up in a big ball and shuts his eyes. Then something amazing happens. So this bear den is under a fallen tree. Look at this den. Does it look roomy or small and crowded? So, do you think that's small? Do you think that's crowded? What do you think? Do you think it's kind of big? Do you think it's big enough for a bear? The bear's breathing slows way down. His heartbeat slows too. The bear falls into a deep resting state. Reminds me of what happens when we go to sleep. For the next few months, he does not leave the den. He won't even go to the bathroom. He will not eat a thing. His body will slowly use up the stored fat. When warm weather returns, the bear opens his eyes. He stretches and sniffs the air. Now food is everywhere. It's time to get out and eat. So after hibernating, he comes out, and what is all around him? Look at it. Is it white and brown and everything is dead, or is everything thriving and green and just ready to be eaten? Just like springtime, right? Bears eat many kinds of food, including berries. Not everyone hibernates.
Find.
Oops. Not all bears hibernate. For example, pandas do not. They may run out of bamboo to eat, but they just move to where there's more bamboo. Black bears are another case. These bears live in Alaska where it gets very cold. They also live in Florida where it stays warm. The Alaska bears hibernate during the coldest months, but the Florida bears stay active all year. That's so interesting. So we know about pandas, and we know now that they don't hibernate. They just move to where there's more food. But black bears, they do hibernate in Alaska, but in Florida, they don't have to because it's warm there all year long. Bears are not the only animals that hibernate. Many bats, chipmunks, and mice also do. They also hibernate for the same reason. There's not much food in the environment. Zoo workers can tell you more about hibernating animals. Rangers at state parks can too. Rangers might even know where some animals' dens are. So if you ever go to a state park, try to talk to a ranger and you can ask them questions like, are there any bears here? And if there are there dens close by? But do not try to find them. You don't want to bother a sleepy, hungry bear. But it's still cool to know that they're nearby, right? Make a guess. The sun bear lives where trees are green all year long. Do you think he hibernates? So this bear has food all year long. Do you think he has to hibernate? Think about it. If a hibernating bear is disturbed, it might take him a few minutes to wake up. Why is that? When you first wake up, do you need kind of a couple minutes, or can you just like get going right away? Polar bears are hunters and eat mostly meat. They can find food all year long. Do you think they hibernate? At what time of year is a hibernating bear's weight the highest? Do you think it's before they hibernate or after? Glossary. Bamboo, a fast-growing grass that has a tall woody stem. Hibernating, spending the winter in a deep, restful state. Dens, the shelter of wild animals. Swampy, like an area with wet, mushy ground. Environment, surroundings. This glossary really reminds me of the last book we read. And it's giving you more books to go to learn more about animals. I mean, specifically more about bears and hibernation. And it has websites you can go to. And it has the index where you can see where these words are. And it has about the author. Hi, Hennesses. So now that you have read books about black bears and pandas, we're going to use this thing called a Venn diagram. and it sounds fancy, but it basically is just two circles like this. And one of them, we're going to write what we know about pandas. And on the other side, we're going to write about what we know about black bears. And then what goes in the middle is what they have in common. Okay, so we're going to think about what we've read about pandas and what we've read about black bears. So I'm going to just model a couple of them for you, and then I want you to draw this on your paper, and I want you to write about 5 things for each side, okay? So one thing that they both have in common is, what animal are both of these animals, pandas and black bears? What kind of animal are they both? They're both bears, right? So they are both bears. You could even just write bears, right? You can keep it really simple. So I'm going to put that in the middle. We know that, what do pandas eat? What do we know about pandas and what they eat? They eat bamboo. And do you remember what you know about black bears? What do they eat? How could you figure out what they eat? I'll give you a hint. You could go back to either the video that we're in right now and look through this, or you could go back to a previous video about black bears and find out what they eat. One thing I remember is, I don't want to say something wrong, but I'm pretty sure they eat fish. Now I want to check because I don't know if that's right. So I looked on Epic and I pulled up the same book we were reading, because I don't want this to just be based off of what I think. I want this to be based off of what I know. So I remembered they eat fish, but I wasn't sure. So I went back to the book and I was correct. Black bears do eat fish. So I'm going to put that in there. So do you notice how I checked my knowledge with facts, right? They eat fish. And that needs to go on the black bear side. So I'm putting what black bears have in common, what pandas have in common, and then what both black bears and pandas have in common, right? So all pandas eat bamboo. All black bears eat fish. They both are bears. So I'm trying to remember, what are other things that are special about black bears that are not true also with pandas? They do something special. What is that word? Hibernate, right? So black bears hibernate. So let's write that. They hibernate. And I remember reading the book about hibernation, the one I just read today, and it started to talk about how pandas do not hibernate, right? Because they always have food. So that's something that's special about pandas, is they don't have to hibernate, but black bears do. I'm wondering if you can think of anything else that both pandas and black bears have in common, and I want you to put it here. So I want you to think of maybe 3 more things that are facts about pandas, 3 more facts about black bears, and then facts that they both have in common in the middle. So that's what I want you to complete today. I want you to draw that on a piece of paper, fill it out, make sure you label pandas at the top, black bears at the top, and all your thoughts in here. I want you to do your best to use spelling on your own and to use words that you've seen and read in the books. If you have to go back and pause the video and go to other videos, that's totally a good option. I'm excited to see your work. Please text it to me. Have a great day.